In today's video, I'm going to talk about the energy pathway of two weight loss transformations. The first one's going to be based on the 50 pounds I lost a few years ago, and then the second one's going to be a typical American woman and the pathway she might go through to lose 30 pounds. Now, what we've got is a graph, and I'll explain the axes just to get us going. So, on this side, we've got the daily calories. This is the calorie target. Not exactly what you're hitting, but it's the target that you're trying to hit. Starts up at 3,000, 2,500, 2,000, 1,500. Then down below we have the weight. So my weight started up at 230 pounds and then came across to 180 pounds. Now, to kickstart your diet, the best thing to do is to know your maintenance calories. So I was roughly 3,000 calories, which is pretty low for someone my weight, but I had a horrid desk job at the time. So what you do is you take your maintenance calories and then apply a deficit of 20%. So this brings me down to 2,400 calories, which was my starting target. And this for me, just in my situation, this was good enough for me to lose the first 10 pounds, which came off, they came off pretty quick, I reckon, maybe in 6 weeks or something like that. Then what happened, as things start to slow, you do what a bodybuilder would do, you take it down 100 calories. So I've got 2,300, lost a few pounds there, had to cut again, 2,200, again, 2,100. And this is over the course of probably 6 months, I slowly worked through. That's my target. It doesn't necessarily mean I was eating that, 6 or 5 days a week. It's just what I was trying to do. Then I spent a long time, months in fact, trying to get good at being consistent on 2,000 calories. This took me all the way to 190 pounds. And then I took a little break, and then I did a final sprint at 1,800 calories. Now, 1,800 calories is about 11 calories per pound, down at that range, and that's really pushing it for me. But there's a lot of variation between individuals. Now, the important thing to realize, and the reason why we have to cut, is that as we diet, our energy needs fall. So to begin with, I needed 3,000 calories. But the second that you start dieting, your body realizes, it sends hormonal signals to your brain and says, okay, we're dieting, we're losing weight, we need to kind of slow down energy expenditure and ramp up hunger. So what happens straight away, right at the start, in the very first week in fact, is that your energy expenditure falls. And then gradually it comes down and your deficit shrinks from what would have been 600 calories to, 300 or 400 calories, even if you're doing everything right. Then that's why we cut, and we have to keep on coming down and down and down. And we have to keep cutting to maintain our deficit. This is, classic bodybuilder stuff. They've been doing it for generations. Then you take a break and try and rebuild and keep on cutting and cutting. And towards the end of my diet, when I'd lost the 50 pounds, I reckon that my maintenance would have fallen into the low 2,000s, maybe 2,200, something like that, because I was losing at a snail's pace and I was struggling to maintain the diet and it was a mess. But, you get to your weight where you want to be, and then gradually you try and rebuild what you've been eating. So you push back up and then hopefully do it gradually. You can push your maintenance back up to something more reasonable. And this is kind of where I hang out now. Now that kind of pathway for your target calories can be applied to anyone, but it really does depend where you're starting from, because your maintenance calories could be anywhere from 4,000 calories way down to 2,000. Okay, so now we're going to do our typical American woman example. We're going to use some rounded numbers, but we're going to have a woman that weighs 170 pounds and her maintenance calories are 2,400 calories. Which to a lot of people is going to sound a little high, but when you actually look at the data, that's actually quite accurate. Now, she does the same thing. From 2,400 calories, she cuts 20%, which is, roughly 500 calories, so down to 1,900 calories, and that kicks her off. Now, hopefully, she can lose maybe 10 pounds, who knows, depends how accurate she is with the diet. And then she has to cut and cut again. And there's just a gradual process over a few months where she has to just keep on cutting to make progress because her metabolism adapts. And then eventually she ends up quite low and finishes up with a sprint of 1400 calories, which is low, but probably still covering her basal metabolic rate, her normal metabolism. Hopefully she's doing some strength training and she's eating enough protein to try and keep her metabolism going, because there's some good evidence that the metabolism of females is more adaptive and thus trying to hold on to fat more readily. The example again, the reason why we have to cut is because as soon as she starts the diet, her metabolic rate or her total energy expenditure will start to drop, even if she's trying to kind of do all the right things, and sometimes even if she's exercising. And then it comes down, and down, and down, until she reaches her target weight, which in this case is 140 pounds. So she's lost 30 pounds over the course of, who knows, 6, 7, 9 months. Depends how accurate and how diligent she is with her diet. And then she does the same thing where she tries to rebuild her metabolic rate a bit. She's not going to make it all the way back up, but she might get up to kind of, maintain her weight at 2,200, something like that. And that's essentially it. That's the same system, but she has to cut harder because women don't have as much energy to play with. Now, the big elephant in the room is this number here. How many calories do you need to maintain your weight? Because that's where it all starts. And it's a mistake to think that you are the typical man that I just showed you, or a typical woman that I've just shown you here, because actually energy needs are all over the place. So 80% of women fall between 3,000 calories up here or 1,800 calories down here. Now, if you happen to be one of the really high energy expenders, which is way up here, this is a crash diet from you. This is absolutely terrible diet. You will feel awful. It will just wreck you. At the same time, there are women who are maintaining on 1,600 calories who will actually gain weight eating like this. So the big question is, what is your maintenance? Now, obviously, that's going to be the subject of our next video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you jump on the email list and get our 5 simple strategies to start losing weight cheat sheet.